This episode of the SwitchCast is produced by Rob Riding, our honored patron and Switch Knight.
Ooh, that was adorable. Hi everyone, I'm KC, and this isn't JV here. I know, don't freak out people, he's not dead. But this is still a very special episode of Switch Topics, our larger topical conversation episodes of the SwitchCast. And because you probably couldn't stand to listen to my voice alone for a full 90 minutes, I have an extra special guest with a mellifluous voice to entertain you for this time. Might I introduce Miz Sylver?
Greetings. Thank you for the introduction. I hope JV isn't dead.
No, but JV had a very dramatic mishap over the weekend. I don't know if he was actually at a tournament or something related to that card game, Card Fight Vanguard.
He had a card tournament accident? He was assaulted by vicious cards?
No, but his car was assaulted while he was at some place, and they stole his collection of cards.
That's terrifying.
So I told him, don't worry about the show. Miz will pull some extra weight.
I mean, I'm not sure how obsessive with these cards he is and if he keeps a spreadsheet or anything like that, but...
He seems like the spreadsheet type.
Yeah.
He might.
Oh,
he
wow.
might. But on topic, we are here tonight to talk about, for this episode, the...
Spreadsheets?
Spreadsheets, yes. We're talking about gaming communities, specifically Nintendo Switch, but not exclusively. And we want this to kind of be almost a guide or a how-to on starting your own and discussing the experiences we've had as gaming community builders in our various regards. And I want that to be a great little kicking off point to introduce yourself, Ms., and what is your relation? Why did I bring you onto this slum of a show?
I think you were just foolish. I mean, that's probably it.
I mean, that's obvious, yes. But how did you fool me into bringing you onto this show?
Well, for those who don't know me, I do all of the social media and planning events for SwitchPass Boston. We may be rebranding soon. There's been a lot of discussion for that. And we currently host a lot of events and put up a lot of information about anything Nintendo related in the Boston and Massachusetts area. So if you're up here and want to play things, look us up. We do some stuff online and in person, usually at least once a month and sometimes more than once a month, depending on the month.
And how do I know you outside of SwitchPass Boston, which actually I didn't even know you were involved with directly until recently. How else do I know you?
Well, I originally heard about you because I heard you were involved with Pokemon, and I do love Pokemon.
That's right. You might even have your own podcast on that.
Oh yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that, but that's not why I originally know you. I do like Pokemon a lot. There may be several of them sitting next to me right now. That's kind of embarrassing when I think about that.
No. Trust me, in this group, those are all badges of honor. They,
Yes. But will they get me to Victory Road? Do I have enough of them? That's the real question.
It's a lifetime to find out, Ms. It's a lifetime to find out.
Yes.
But yeah, the podcast you do with your co-host there, the Wolf Doctor.
Yes.
And it's the Poke Problems.
Yeah, so I don't even know how long ago it was now. I'm going to say this fall, it might be 2 years ago, she tricked me into being on a podcast with her called the Poke Problems Podcast. And we talk about, there's usually at least some sort of news related or something related to Pokemon. Originally, there was mostly things about Pokemon Shuffle. For anyone who plays that game, still, I do. What's wrong with me? And we also talk about various news events, video game related, not just Nintendo. There's also a lot of focus on PlayStation, Square Enix, and conventions that both of us go to. anything movie or comic book related, and we do a lot of industry interviews with various people who do things.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been on the show twice now.
Yes, you have.
I think originally because I have my Pokemon League that I run over here.
Which is awesome.
Thank you. And I was on again, I think just as a follow-up when Sun and Moon came out. And at that time, I know you guys asked me about Pokemon Go, and by then I think I was drifting away from it because I've been playing more Sun and Moon. But things have come full circle. I'm going to tell you, I might have to come back on the show.
Yes.
Because I just recently got the best Pokemon Go accessory one could possibly purchase.
You have to tell me, what did you get? It is amazing.
I got a bicycle.
A real life bicycle?
A real life bicycle.
Well, make sure you don't crash it.
I will try not to. But yes, I got a bike and I've just been, it totally rekindled. I needed an excuse to ride places and I've been itching. And so I got Pokemon Go back on my phone. It's maybe like, let's say I stopped playing it maybe 4 months ago. And so I just reinstalled it, and I just said, all right.
You uninstalled Pokemon Go?
I did. I got very tired with it,
This
and I just was
terrifying.
I know. And I was looking for more interesting things to do in it, and I just felt like the problems with the updates just never sat. So I think I had enough time away from it. Also, gotta remember, I got really high level in a very short amount of time. I got to level 28 very fast, and I really grinded that game like crazy. And I maybe burnt out on it. That's why. But I've had enough time away. Mommy and Daddy had to separate for a little while to explore life. And now we're back together again. We've always loved you kids, the Pokemon. Yes. And so I've been riding around my neighborhood like crazy, chasing every one of the new Pokemon that I haven't seen. And I'm actually interested in how gyms have kind of evolved for better and for worse in different ways, but the metagame has changed, and so
how there are Tyrannitars and still Snorlaxes everywhere, and
I've seen Blissey's everywhere now.
Oh,
Blissey's have replaced Snorlax in my world.
In your area. And the shiny Gyarados, have you seen some of those?
I have not seen the shinies yet.
So pretty.
But so that's been a fun thing with that, but let's go back into the Switch world, and I know one of the things I recently saw you doing was at the Switch hands-on demo they were doing, the events they were doing around the country.
Oh, the Switch preview tour. Yes.
Yeah, I saw you were hosting the Has Been Heroes booth at that. How did you get that gig? How did you get involved with that?
I'm just a very lucky person. I'll just say that.
Does that mean you married someone at Nintendo?
No. I've been working at a lot of the Nintendo demo events since, I want to say 2007.
Okay.
The very first one I worked on was the DS Light Up Your Summer Tour.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody, I don't know if you ever saw those people running around your city, New York, but in Boston, I know, each of us had 3 DS lights on us, and we had, I'm not even sure how many games we had. We had a lot of different titles on us, but mostly people wanted to play Mario Kart DS.
Oh, of course, yes.
Of course, because it's the most popular game ever. But we had other things too, like I remember there was Brain Age, Academy, and New Super Mario Brothers. I didn't even own a DS Lite at the time, so I was super psyched. And it was a month long, and it was just getting people excited about the DS Lite, which is an awesome system, and I still have mine. That's wonderful.
Now, these are all volunteer positions, or does Nintendo actually pay you to help run these things?
No, they're paid positions.
Okay, because I honestly, half the people I know would I could see Nintendo totally milking those people who are just obsessed to be like, I will do it for free if you just let me be anyhow related to Nintendo and just let us run around. But it's probably best that they're like, no, we're going to have people that are worth paying to do this, It's good. That's good to know. I'm glad that you were reimbursed for your time.
But it's a lot of fun. And let me say, Has Been Heroes is very, very addictive. And, I can't stop playing it. Someone needs to pry it out of my hands.
That's funny. No, that's great because, I know that you obviously got over that game's learning curve because I only really got to try it out at a couple of demo stations, and it was a wall of incomprehension to me. I really could not. I'm just hitting buttons. I'm like, why is this yellow icon here? How am I casting a spell? I have no idea. I couldn't figure anything out. JV spent more time with it. He liked it, but he still didn't feel... He was kind of lukewarm. He didn't feel like enthusiastic about it, I don't think. So you've always been very cheerleadery about it. So you've gotten past all the hurdles to enjoying this game.
I actually picked it up right away, which is not entirely common, because I know of everybody when they were playing it, not everybody survived the demo when they were first handed the controller, and I did.
Oh, wow. So, okay.
Because there are a lot of little intricacies and nuances, and I think if you play a lot of, I don't want to say RPG games, but if you play a lot of strategy games, maybe that makes it easier. I'm not sure. Because there's just a lot of little things, and the more you play it, the more combinations you'll see.
For me, it was mostly the controls. I just didn't know how to make things happen.
Oh, yeah.
So once I'm pretty confident, if I did learn the controls, I guess I would be able to get to that next step of understanding the strategy, but I never got there.
If you don't understand the controls to a game, that would hinder it greatly. Like, just if you don't know how to jump in Mario, I've seen people die in the first Goomba in the original Super Mario many thousands of times. Well, there you go. Not saying that I was totally laughing.
Well, on the inside, you're allowed to laugh on the inside. A little bit on the outside. So tell me about StreetPass Boston. I know there's a lot of Street Pass groups around the country. I've never actually personally been to a Street Pass group, so I was curious what they're about. Is it not really about the street passing, or is that just like kind of a code word for this is a 3DS meetup group?
Well, the Street Pass groups were originally founded by Nintendo. Used the Meetup site, if you're familiar with meetup.com.
Yes.
And they formed a whole bunch of them in the different areas so people could get together to play Kid Icarus Uprising and Street Pass in that game. Have you played Kid Icarus Uprising, I should ask?
I haven't actually. I know that was one game that I did not play on the 3DS.
You haven't played my favorite game.
I know.
Do you like Smash Brothers?
I am fond of Smash Brothers.
If you like Smash Brothers, you'd probably like the PvP version of Kid Icarus Uprising.
Okay.
It's very good.
I am fond of the smashing of brothers, yes.
Yes. But in it, you can exchange weapon gems with each other when you street pass each other. And there are also these collectible AR cards. And a lot of these were given out at official Nintendo events or things like PAX. So a lot of these Street Pass events originally were so people could exchange cards or street pass each other and play the multiplayer version of it together in person. You could play it online, but of course it's fun. Just like Smash Brothers, it's fun to play each other in person.
I know early on in like the 3DS life, the Street Pass, it was so exciting because it was such a new thing, and people would go out of their way to be like, oh man, where can I go to make as many Street Pass as possible?
Look for that green light.
I'd say for at least the first 6 months, it was the thing you had to do with your 3DS more than even play the games. Though I do feel like after a while, especially like the last year of my life, I've just like turned off the Street Pass feature because I was like, it's just draining my battery too fast. I don't even care about it anymore.
I didn't even think about that. Well, there are certain people, you know Sean Sullivan, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Who carries around, how many 3DSs does he carry around with him all the time?
Yeah,
3?
That's why whenever I see him, I have the same 3 Miis in a row on my street passing
your Street Pass Plaza. I know. I always see him at PAX. He's like clearing out his plaza for hours and hours. He is dedicated. And he's also still dedicated to Pokemon Go.
Well, like I said, I'm actually, like I said, I'm not just getting into myself. I've already like started planning basically like play dates with my friends. I'm like, all right, after work next Tuesday, let's all go out and start like hunting together, and let's all go bike riding that weekend and stuff like that. Like I'm already trying to like get this a small scale, let's say, community event going for that.
That sounds so fun. I'm picturing things like in the cartoon or the comic book series, and I'm just hoping some kid doesn't come up and steal your bike and wreck it, and then you're turned into Misty, like you wrecked my bike.
So, but isn't how you find true love in the Pokemon world?
That's true.
Oh no, wait, Ash ended up with, well, not ended up with, but
what? Yeah,
that's
true.
What did he get?
Serena.
Serena, that's the one.
Yes.
All right, so let's segue now into our actual main discussion. Now that we kind of have a little baseline of where you're coming from and kind of the communities here, let's start talking a little bit about how people can get communities like the ones you and I run going. Actually, let me just give people a quick rundown of the different things I do too, in addition to obviously the SwitchCast group and all the things that we do here. I run, as we mentioned, we have a Pokemon League. I do that once a month. And then pretty much every Tuesday, with a few swaps arounds in the schedule, I do Tuesday Night Fights, which is basically a night where we play fighting-themed card games. And I might be integrating some fighting games on the Switch, like Samurai Showdown and stuff. But we'll talk more about that as we go there. So let's go into the topic talk, and I'm going to leave some room here for the transition music.
Building a gaming community. And you.
This doesn't have to necessarily be for Switch community. Most of what we're going to say is going to be applicable to a lot of things, but we're going to try to generally focus it on some sort of Nintendo group because there are some nuances to that. But the very first thing I wanted to talk about is the inspiration. Deciding, just getting that concept of what kind of group you want to run. And there's a few basic things you have to kind of decide, I think, in your head before you go forward anyway. So the first thing we're going to say, like deciding whether you want something that's casual or competitive, right?
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. That's how I see it. I think it's fair to say though, most of us are looking for just kind of casual meetup groups, at least all the groups I'm a part of most of the time. Is that, that's kind of what StreetPass.
I think that's true. Though I have seen some groups where at this one place at Game Over in Boston, they actually used to have a Smash community that went on for a very long time.
That's true, yeah.
That went on every single week, where there was a community that people would show up every week to play Smash. It doesn't happen anymore, but it used to for several years.
Now, that's interesting that you bring that up, though, because, yes, Smash is a competitive game, but I don't think most of the people who play, like the groups at least that I've seen, they're still not playing it competitively. Like, if you're not great at it, there's nothing holding you back from just keep playing it and losing and whatever. It's not like they're keeping track of wins or losses. There's not a prize.
It depends on the group.
Okay, yes.
Because these, I would say, were definitely tournament groups.
Okay.
People were definitely very good,
all right,
in my experience, and there were prize pools with a lot of them.
All right.
So I'd say it was very competitive, and then there was usually some, like, MVC, Marvel vs. Capcom, a little bit of that on the side, and occasionally some other games, too. So it might depend on the group.
Yeah, totally. So I guess my main point is, just because you want to have a group specializing in a competitive game like that, you don't have to necessarily commit yourself to it being a competitive group.
No.
But yeah, first, get that vibe. Pick your vibe, casual, competitive, and there's a whole lot of different ways to format the group. It could be a single genre. It could be something that's like a fighting game genre type like that. Maybe something that's like the SwitchFest, this system specific group. It can be a Switch only group, or maybe you want to have a group that's all over the place. Maybe any portables kind of thing will do. How do you feel about it? Do you think a wider idea is better, or do you think it needs to really be focused down in that kind of regard?
I think it depends on your group and what you want to aim for. Like, I know at StreetPass Boston, it is mostly Nintendo focused, but there are some people who show up with their Vitas and their PSPs. Scandalous, I know, with their amazing Japanese music rhythm games.
And how long do you let them stay before you kick them out? Oh no,
No,
I like
that
my
would be
Vita.
cruel and unusual.
I love my Vita. I mean, have you started any other groups like on your own other than the Street Pass? I mean, I know you didn't start it on your own, but were there any other groups that maybe you've had at least ideas for that you wanted to get going or that you did start?
I'm not sure if I've actually formally started. I mean, when I was younger, and this is kind of weird. Now that I think about it, I started a party club when
I'm interested.
In middle school and going into high school. I used to have a party club where we had a party once a month, and it would change whose house it was hosted at. And I'm trying to think of other things. Like, I've been involved in different sorts of clubs. Like, in college, I was publicity for Anime Club, and I run and write things related to Dungeons and Dragons. So I've done lots of stuff related to that, but I'm not sure if I've started anything else. I'd have to think about that.
Okay.
Other than, I forgot about that party club thing.
So I think it really comes down to though, like what you have, like who you're trying to get in this group. Like if you are in let's say a college and you know that there's already a lot of people who are just into the Switch, it might be a little easier. Maybe you just want to have a general thing. Maybe you're in an area where there's maybe like a less population density. You might have to make it a broader scope in order to get enough people to make the group what you're willing, what you're looking to do. It's also important to keep in mind what you want in terms of how large of a group. Like,
that's true.
Like maybe you have dreams that you want 100-person group, like eventually, like that is your dream. Or you're like,
do people plan it out that much? Wow.
Some people have like images in their head. Maybe you're
Casey, I think I totally lied to you.
What?
You said college, and I was like, I had a mailing list for basically video games in my room.
A mailing list for video games?
Yes, I totally forgot about that.
I'm not sure I know what you mean.
No, but since you were talking about college groups, and it was Smash at MIT.edu, and it was for basically playing video games.
Okay.
It was like, do you guys want to play Smash right now? Do you guys want to play DDR right now? Do you want to play Mario Party? Do you want to play Soul Calibur? Do you want to play whatever?
There you go. All right. So the groups can come in many forms, and that'll fall into the logistics. We'll definitely talk about that.
Yeah, logistics.
But you know what? Don't let the idea of the size, like, if you are fine with, you're just looking for like maybe 4 or 5 people to play a certain game or two with, that's also fine. But just kind of get that idea in your head as well.
1,000 people.
Yes. And one other thing to keep in mind is sometimes, most of the time, I think most groups are looking for just, a free kind of thing. Anyone can show up and play or whatever. But don't discount, or at least think about something down the road. Are you looking for maybe something that will be admission based? For example, if you're going to do tournaments, maybe you want to have prizes. Those prizes should not necessarily have to come purely out of your pocket. Maybe you want to attract people. You're going to be thinking about, all right, I want to have, a trophy or a $50 Amazon gift card prize. Maybe that'll get people here. But at the same time, then you'd be like, okay, but it's like $2 to enter. Or my friend who runs a board game group, they meet and they basically just, everyone pitches in $2 every meeting, but that money goes towards buying board games for the group.
That's awesome. So that way you get new board games to play all the time.
Basically, yeah. And actually the bar that they meet at just gives him a closet to stick all the board games in. So they just stick them in there. It's a nice communal area. So,
yeah.
So, anything else you want to add to the inspiration topic here?
I mean, I think these are all great inspiration things, and looking for fun, free places to host events is always good. Like, I know one of the other Street Pass groups actually gets together at a library once a month.
Oh.
And, which is really cool. And you were talking about prizes?
Yes.
Depending on who you contact, if you're doing it related to a specific game, you might be able to reach out to a game company, and they might actually be able to provide you with a prize.
That's true.
If you're lucky. You never know.
So actually, you touched upon the next thing we definitely should talk about is figuring out the timing and location. Now, figuring out a spot, I think, is probably going to define a lot of what you can and can't do with a group.
That's true.
And I mean, I'm fortunate. I know that we have plenty of awesome spots in this city. I mean, we've been playing under 30 Rockefeller Center for a while now. But before that, we just had different cafes with eating areas that nobody bothered us in, and different food courts, a lot of different places I've tried out, and sometimes we even met at different bars, depending on. That's another thing. Like, are you looking for age group wise? Something to keep in mind. You know, like if you're looking for people who are 21 and older only, you can meet at a bar. It's fine. Otherwise,
but there are some bars that do allow during certain hours people who are not 21 to go there. Since I have been to some events that have younger people there before certain hours, in case you were looking, at a wider audience.
Yeah. Okay. So where do you guys meet actually for the SwitchPass Boston?
So we used to meet at the Prudential Center. There was a food court area that was quite lovely.
Oh.
But it's been under construction.
Oh my gosh.
So we moved over to the Cambridge Side Galleria, which also has a lovely food court area. They recently added a delicious, brick oven made-to-order pizza thing that's awesome and tasty. And we occasionally meet at some other places too. Like once a year, we go to the Sandcastle Festival on Revere Beach, and occasionally some other things. But we mainly meet at the Galleria Mall. It's free, it's good, and there's easy access to food.
It's funny that's where you met, because you met at a food court in a bank building. My previous spot was not Prudential Center, it was the Citigroup Center. And it is also now inaccessible to us because it's under construction.
Oh my god, that's crazy.
That is nuts. It's like mirror worlds.
I know. This is insane.
That's why we've had to move over to 30 Rock, which turned out to be better, but I mean,
I love 30 Rock.
Yeah.
It's the best.
I say 30 Rock. I don't know if it might technically be under 30 Rockefeller Center. I think it is, actually.
I had never heard an address referred to ever. I just knew how to get down that little secret escalator through that weird building.
I just say that because I love the show 30 Rock, and so I'm just like, I feel attached a little more to the show that I play, where Liz Lemon did her business. And setting, what time do you guys meet now? Like, how did you figure out what was the good timing for it?
So we usually meet on Saturdays, and I'll set up a poll or try and trick someone else into setting up a poll on which Saturday or once in a while Sunday to meet. And we try and look at different events going on for the month, like, is Anime Boston or Boston Comic Con happening this month? Because then maybe we also want to meet at Anime Boston or Boston Comic Con, or not have it on that weekend. And I know, like, for example, Monster Hunter New York, talking about other gaming groups. Like, they used to meet on Friday nights, but now they meet on Saturday afternoons.
Okay.
So times are very important.
How consistent is it? I mean, do you guys change it, like, every couple of weeks, or is it, like, almost always people know it's at this same time and place of the month?
For, I'm going to say about a year and a half, it used to be the second Saturday of every month.
Okay.
But then, due to things like, oh no, this major convention has come up, everyone's freaking out, it's just now a random Saturday, or once in a while, 2 Saturdays.
Ooh.
Or maybe a Saturday and a Sunday. Maybe because people are like, oh my god, this game is coming out, we all have to get together right now. Or maybe we'll go to this event in the middle of the week that's free for everyone to go to, so we can get together and play this game in person right now.
Cool. I mean, I definitely can say that consistency is really, really one of the most vital things about timing.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to have to remind people when it is. It's definitely, like SwitchFest is always, and this is how my Pokemon League has been for over 2 or 3 years now, first Thursday of every month. That's how we do it. Unless something special happens, like there was one...
I was about to say, how does that work with things like, New York Comic Con or other events?
Well, New York Comic Con, at least, that's usually... I know it technically starts on Thursday, but that's like the press day mostly, and I don't care so much about that. But if, let's say, if 4th of July was that...
Oh, yeah.
Was
or
one
holiday.
year. We'll move it to the next Thursday if we have to. Usually it's not. But telling people about those changes is one of the most important things. And we're going to get into that the next section, but being able to communicate and organize that kind of stuff with people. But at least having a general rule of thumb that everyone knows it's every Friday or every other Friday or, and at this time. I actually picked Thursdays because I have been looking for, with my groups, I usually look for working age people who are in the city who are coming to play after work. And Fridays, honestly, I'm not that mindset. I don't want to be playing games on Friday nights. Friday nights are like date night. I'll go out with the wife or something, or I want to,
date night.
I don't like to, I'm not a gaming guy Friday night. Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, those are my gaming, like hardcore gaming times. But I wanted a group for people like that kind of mentality that are like, just want to play a little after work sometimes. So it's always Thursday nights are like my favorite, or Tuesday nights for my other group. But generally, weeknights kind of thing there. But yeah, picking the time, you have a whole bunch of people. I like what you did. You put a poll out to see like what. How did you run that poll to see like what times work for most people?
I usually put a poll up on Facebook and on Twitter, and then I try and encourage people to hopefully vote honestly, and then I'll also usually put up a joke option too for people that can't make any of them but want to participate in the poll.
Okay, that's good.
Because it's, it's fun to vote. Mm-hmm. I like voting in polls. Everybody votes.
I miss Everybody Votes. That's my favorite thing.
I miss Everybody Votes.
If they brought that back, I'd pay like $20 for that app.
I know. I'd be like, instant download. Bam.
But yeah, okay, so that brings us to now probably one of the other important things that everyone should know. I think this is where people kind of fall apart a lot. I think people are good at having inspiration of what kind of group they want. And they could even say, oh, we're going to play at this auditorium after school every Friday. But then they fall down on actually getting things organized and communication. And I think this is now it sounded to me when you told me your role with SwitchPass Boston, it kind of sounded like people make you the organizational workhorse.
You might say that.
So tell me what your general job entails when you're like running. Like, what is like the month or week to week maintenance or organization you have to do for the group?
Well, I try to, when I have time, see if there's any interesting, fun news things that have come up and post them so that people are aware, like, oh, hey, look, Bayonetta amiibos are alive. Mm-hmm. You should think about pre-ordering them right now.
Okay.
If I see that come up. And we have a small little system where sometimes when things like that go up for pre-order, there are a couple people who are in charge of texting me, hey, yo, this is available right now. So then I will post it to the group. So there's at least a little bit of a delegation of tasks there.
Okay.
I travel a lot for work. If I can't be at a meetup, I'll always be like, who can make this one? To make sure that's a couple people that everyone always recognizes is there to greet new people who may or may not show up. And then to hopefully be like, somebody take pictures. I'll be like reminding people, take some pictures.
I totally just remembered something I really should have mentioned, and the inspiration thing even, is we've been talking almost exclusively about like actual personal physical events. I think...
Oh, yeah, online things, too.
Yeah, you don't have to have your group, especially if you're in a disparate locations with people you want to be part of. You can have a community that totally exists online, or just, your people...
In the internet.
Yes, the internet. So don't rule that out, and even everything else we said can apply, like just replace location auditorium with this chat room, or, these forums, or this game at this time. That all works, just, replace, internet with all this stuff here.
That just reminds me, one of my friends, she runs a group where she hosted a movie night, and it was where everyone could watch the movie together, and you log into the same one link, and everyone clicks on it, and you sort of have a chat overlay and a voiceover overlay, so it's just the same sort of thing, and it's an online community where everyone can do the same fun thing. So, like, just like you're saying, all the things we're saying right now, you can apply to a fun online gaming thing. So you can play all your stuff together.
Awesome. I personally, I think having some kind of online hub for the communication is one of your first steps. I think making a Facebook page is probably like the easiest way to do this. I have like literally 4 Facebook groups for my groups. I have one for the Epic card game, Epic NYC. I have Exceed NYC.
I was about to say Exceed.
Yep, that's the fighting game one. obviously have the SwitchCast, and I also have one for my previous podcast from years ago, the Palette Tribune, which is a page I haven't touched, but apparently every few months,
Palette Tribune.
The Palette Tribune, the old Pokemon podcast, every couple of months, just randomly 4 or 5 people still go to that page and just reminisce about stuff.
It's gonna turn into Lavender Town.
Yes, right. But once you have the page, I mean, the only problem is not everyone uses Facebook, but it's a good hub just for having an easy way to invite and see, all right, these are the 20 people that are in this group, or here's the 5 that might actually show up to things. And then setting up events so everyone gets reminders all right, guys, remember, we're meeting tomorrow.
Hey guys. Just like you're saying, reminders I think are really good. I usually try and post a reminder 1 or 2 days before the event, hey guys, remember, we're going to meet tomorrow. Yeah. Remember to update your systems, charge your stuff.
Yeah, don't leave me alone. I don't want to be the only one waiting at the restaurant looking like someone stood me up on a date. And okay, so how did you get actually involved with StreetPass Boston? Did someone recruit you? Did you just join the group and then someone made you kind of the taskmaster?
Well, originally, my living situation is always very confusing because I work in various places all over the country, and I used to spend most of my time in New York. So at a Kid Icarus tournament at what was then Nintendo World, I met Peter, who I'm sure you know.
Oh, yes, Mr. Ortiz.
And he gave me this, yes, Mr. Ortiz. I have this amazing flyer. I can actually see it from where I'm sitting right now, that he handed me for StreetPass New York, which is now Switch and Play New York. And he's like, I see you here every week. And I was like, what is this? I'm like, there's a group of people that meet together to play 3DS games? Oh my God. What? I cannot just cry by myself every night? This is amazing. And so then I went home and, of course, immediately looked it up. And I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, I go to Boston all the time. I was like, there's a Boston one?
Oh,
what?
There you go.
And I was like, there's one in Milwaukee? What? And the one in Boston, Ethan Miguel still has a lot of involvement. But at some point in time, after I joined the Boston one, I foolishly saw that someone had made me an admin for some crazy reason and I could update the page. So then I became obsessive with being like, oh, people should know this information. Or, hey guys, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? And then the rest is history. This is how this happened.
So why are you thinking now about actually changing the branding? Let me ask you about that.
I think it might help bring more people in. Not that I would say we're necessarily trying to expand, but because StreetPass might turn people away that have a Nintendo Switch because they might not associate them together.
Okay.
Whereas only people who have a 3DS and then also have a Nintendo Switch would associate them together. Whereas, currently we have people showing up with any sort of handheld system.
Wait, you're planning on changing the branding to what, SwitchPass and Boston? Is that what you're
Either there's been talk of SwitchPass or Switch and Play or a couple other names.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay, so yeah, that's a tricky, getting the message across as to what the group is.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a promotional issue, and it's part of recruitment, which is the next thing we're going to be talking about. So we'll hold on that for 1 second.
Yeah.
I did want to say, though, it was funny, you know how I ended up starting the Pokemon League, actually, to begin with?
How?
I wanted the badges. I wanted they made the really cool Pokemon badges.
The really cool badges.
The Pokemon company would give those out to the comic book stores that would run the tournaments, basically, because they would sign up.
And they're so cool.
And then you have to play in these, comic book shops that smell bad, and you have to. I didn't like that. I didn't like the people at those tournaments. I didn't really care for it. They just didn't mesh with me. I'm not saying they're bad people. They're just not my people. That's all I'm going to say,
I'm picturing the guy from The Simpsons.
It was kind of some of the groups there were very much the bad stereotypes of the comic book nerd guy. So I wanted to get these badges, but I didn't want to do it in this way that I just felt uncomfortable. So I just signed up to be a gym leader basically. I went to the Pokemon.com website and, they actually have a really interesting system. Like you have to fill out a whole questionnaire about where you're going to host it. What ages are you? Is it a public space? Are you willing to take a criminal background check? Like a whole lot of stuff like that. And maybe 4 months later, they get back to me and say, okay, you can run the group. And then they start sending me the gifts and the badges. And I was like, yes, I can finally give out badges and I can get my own. And that's really why I started doing it. And then, now I just do it because it's
and now look at where you are.
Yeah. And,
look at what it's tricked you into doing all of these other things too.
And now the prizes aren't even that good anymore. They don't even they just give me cards to give out for the trading card game. And I'm like, I don't like the trading card game. We play the video game. Give me something better. I'm just holding out. The only reason I keep doing it is because I hope when the Switch version of Pokemon comes out, there'll be cool prizes for that.
I do like the trading card. I would love to learn to play the trading card game. I've been trying to learn for literally years. Someday I will learn. I have many of the cards. I have millions. Someday I will learn.
You know what? Actually, that actually reminds me of a lesson learned because I had I initially did the video game as a league. And then I clicked the box and said, all right, we'll also try maybe getting into the card game. Now you have to keep in mind, this goes back to what you said before about casual versus competitive, because we have lots of casuals who were there because we were playing the video game and we were easy breezy people. Then I start trying to mix in and I promoted it as you can play the trading card game here too. And some very serious card game players came there.
Oh man, they're ready to throw down.
And they were not the nicest people to our casual, like the people who just picked up a starter deck, basically. Like, oh, you're going to play the card game too? I'll buy a starter deck and I'll start playing. And this is not indicative of all the card game players, but the ones that came that were very competitive literally scoffed at people who had like inferior cards to the ones like, you're playing with the Professor Oak one? No, Professor Sycamore's card is so much better. Like
that's so sad.
Like, I just had to like take it off. No more card games here. Sorry. Like it just did not attract a group that meshed with the casual group that we had already there, so I had to like turn that off.
And I find that very unfortunate because I really love competitive stuff, but I think if you have competitive things, it's really important to also embrace people who are casual too, and try and encourage people, if they're not as competitive you, to not scoff at them or to encourage them or give tips and things like that. So I find that so tragic and sad.
Well, now this is becoming an issue. I'm curious because I'm trying to expand into the fighting game thing, but I know the fighting game community is notoriously truculent, confrontational.
Wait, what was that word? I need to look it up.
Truculent.
According to the internet, it is eager or quick to argue or fight.
Exactly.
Aggressively defiant.
Yes. They are a truculent bunch, and I think it's just the nature of fighting games or like that kind of community. That's just kind of how it's grown. And I fear that if I start recruiting fighting game interested people, I might have the same thing happen again as with the card game people, where they're ready to throw down and they're going to start talking smack to people who are like, I'm just trying to learn King of Fighters, okay? I'm sorry, I'm not a master yet. No need to bring my mom into this conversation, sir.
Your mother and Professor Oak.
So,
man.
I guess that brings us into promotion and recruitment because
yes,
who you want to bring in is going to be important, and how you bring.
Would you like to recruit your mother?
Yes. So who you bring in and why is going to be important, and that's really going to come down to where you're going to look for people. How do you guys advertise SwitchPass Boston?
I try and keep it small, so it is mostly on Facebook and Twitter. We do have a Google Plus page, which I put someone else in charge of. I refuse to look at that,
yeah.
so occasionally there are posts on there. I would say we target, Nintendo-based audiences, so sometimes we occasionally do have some kids show up with their parents, which is really great and awesome because I love seeing kids have fun with any sort of game or just have fun in general.
Okay. Do you ever use meetup.com anymore?
We used to use meetup.com. We're debating on using it again. I'm not sure. Do you guys use it right now?
I haven't. That is another thing that my friend uses for one of his board game groups. And it is a really good system because
it's wonderful.
It is wonderful because people can look up and find the groups they're looking for, and they'll find your group a lot easier if you're on there. The only thing it does cost like something monthly, but if you're going to use that, that's another reason why you might consider saying, hey, it's a $1 or $2 cover to join because I'm paying for meetup.com to bring in people. And that's why another reason why my friend charges $2 per board game meet, because he's running this website thing to, bring in the people, which are, why you're able to play.
Or if you have an actual branded website, like I do have a URL reserved in case anyone's listening and is very ambitious and would like to design a website.
Oh, there you go.
For us up here. I have designed my own websites very badly that look terrible using ancient HTML.
I mean, don't forget about, I still do like old school, like lemonade stand style advertising where I've printed out flyers for some of my groups. And
I love flyers.
And I drop them off at the local comic or game shop. And usually they just want to look it over, and they're happy to promote, especially like a game store. Because you know what, if you drop some flyers there, ask the guy's permission first. But if you leave them there, that might encourage someone to say, "Ooh, Mario Kart group in this area? Maybe I'll buy Mario Kart because now I can play it with these guys." So sometimes they're pretty cool with that. And like I said, comic book shops, if you're looking for a card or board game kind of group, works too like that. Or just posting
or even wherever you are. Like I play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons myself, so I go to a lot of board game, card game shops. And a lot of those places, just like comic book shops, are very friendly towards flyers. They usually have a flyer board. And never underestimate flyers. It's amazing what flyers can do, seriously.
Yeah. Just take some copywritten pictures, throw them on there, you'll be fine.
Hey, in college, I had to draw my own picture every week for our anime club. That was a lot of work, because I am not the greatest artist. It was a lot of time. Yeah.
And just make sure the flyer has the information. You might not want to put your actual like phone number or stuff on there, but maybe if you have like a backup email that you don't mind if giving out, and you could put that on there for people who want to ask questions, or just a link to your Facebook group where people can post questions.
Yeah, a link to your Facebook group, or even a QR code for people who like QR
fancy.
codes. Ooh. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely getting those people in, because you know what? And give out the flyers. I always give out flyers for the SwitchCast to people who show up to my groups, because they spread it to other people, and they want to help you bring in more people, because communities are more fun when more people join in. And if it's an online community, give them links to share with other people, because same thing there, And
speaking of things to put on flyers, you guys have a really cool hashtag with the SwitchCast that I see you guys using a lot online.
Which one? Switching around?
Yeah,
nice.
Things like that.
That's what I call some social media marketing.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Come up with a cool hashtag like that.
That's true. I mean, part of it was I definitely did not want to like dominate. I didn't want to just use, the SwitchCast for everything. I didn't want it to be like, this is purely advertising, but it was just getting something fun that people do. And, people know, and it comes back, it links back to me eventually. So that's cool. But I didn't feel like I had to brand it SwitchCast like crazy.
But the fun thing I like about the hashtag you came up with is it encourages people to take pictures of their Nintendo Switch in fun locations.
Yeah.
So if I just look up the hashtag and I can be like, oh, this person is mountain climbing, and oh no, I hope their Switch doesn't fall off.
Oh yeah, like
fun things like
one
that.
of our guys, he just posted, he's like, yeah, at the hospital, kid got hurt playing Switch in the emergency room. I was like, whoa, is he all right? He's like, yeah, he's cool. But I was like,
he's cool.
I assume if you're playing the Switch, he was all right, but just wanted to make sure.
It's good.
I don't want to retweet anything that's related to something tragic,
I know. Good person.
But yeah, it's half the time it's not even about directly telling people about your thing. Just getting people hyped about stuff in general will help your cause. Getting people hyped about the game you want to play. As long as you're not overbearing and obnoxious, people like to get hyped. People are happy to get hyped. And
send a nice, fun, positive image.
Yes, exactly. And make a good meme, maybe pass it around. That's another good thing on there. And
oh man,
it's also a great way to keep in communication, because if everyone follows you on Twitter, it's an easy way for you to email,
or Instagram.
Oh,
Instagram is very popular as well.
That's true. I will say though, after all that, try to get everyone's email at some point, because you know what? It's usually the best fail-safe when all other communication fails, like someone's not checking their Twitter and this person doesn't use Facebook. If you have everyone's email after they show up, maybe have like a little sign-in sheet. Once you have everyone's email, you have one surefire way to tell everyone, game's canceled this week, tornado
week. And that's important to let people know if things are canceled, especially like due to weather. Like, I know one time we had to cancel something because it's like, yeah, there's a state of emergency snowstorm. Everyone, we're going to play SSX at home or whatever. Yeah. It's like, play your snowboarding games at home.
And don't assume they know it's canceled, because you know what? There's still people who will trudge through a monsoon.
There are people that will show up.
Yeah.
Yes. So make sure everyone knows.
All right. So, yeah, promotion. And you know what? Just going into like chat rooms like our own or any other group. Find other groups that exist. I like to sometimes test the waters for a new group by going to other similar groups. Let's say I joined up with a Counter-Strike group, and then I'm like, hey, I'm thinking of, after I play with them for a little while and just getting a vibe for it, say, hey, I'm starting a Splatoon group if anyone's into something a little lighter. And you might find some people like that, just working similarly.
And I know a couple times when new games came out, I posted on GameFAQs I love GameFAQs. People always make fun of me for using it. But I was like, hey, in case anyone's in Boston, we're getting together to play, the new Monster Hunter game. And I saw a whole slew of people show up. They're like, hey, we heard there's Monster Hunter going on with the new game. You guys, are you the people? And I was like, hey, that's us. And it's amazing what posting on a random online forum can do.
So, I mean, anyone who's been running one of these groups for a while is going to run into some problems, though. So what are some of the hardships or like real issues that you have had while trying to run some of these groups?
I mean, I say we're very lucky up here, and that's why I try not to, I advertise, but I don't push it because I worry, because I see some groups when they expand a lot, that's when a lot of problems or drama arises. Mm-hmm. I try and encourage everyone to be friendly, nice. So we have not had any major issues, but I know that I've definitely seen it happen in other groups where there have been giant splits and rifts.
Oh, yeah, the politics. Oh, I mean, like, you can have something as simple as, like, a couple that came to your group for years just broke up, and now
stuff like that.
And now one of them wants to keep the group going but doesn't want the other person, or like starts their own group and is like, oh no, don't go to the group Sharon goes to, they stink. Come to my new group. And it could tear you apart, and you're just caught in the middle of this stupid stuff. I think what's really important is, this is a hard thing for people to deal with, is that there has to be, if you're not willing to be the one who's willing to step out and engage with any of these problems head on with people, find someone who's a little more willing, like who can be that hand of yours, because you have to get involved. You cannot just stay quiet with these kind of issues. If there's one person who's just annoying everyone, who's doing something, maybe there's even someone, and this has happened. I've had this happen in a group. No judgments. There was a person who stunk, who just smelled bad in one of our groups.
Oh, yeah. And that's just a logistics thing. And it's really simple.
And you know what? You do have to be, or know someone who's willing to be that guy who comes over and says, hey, I'm telling you this privately. Don't say it in front of other people. I just want to tell you privately. You kind of have some BO. I think you, like, I don't know, maybe you go to the gym before you come here, or maybe, like, you know, I don't know, maybe the water's busted at your house, but you gotta shower before you come next time because it's really distracting. All right, no offense, but you know, and you have to suck that up. You have to address that because you know what? Stinky guy is gonna make sure 5 other people leave your group.
And I think what you were saying, pulling aside someone by themselves, because I have seen some problems happen, and I always think it's important to talk to someone by themselves. Don't bring it up in front of everybody. Don't embarrass someone because you don't know how they're going to react. Mm-hmm. And I'm just trying to go back and go through things like there have been like some minor problems, like, you know, using adult language in front of, you know, someone that maybe shouldn't hear it. You know, pull someone aside and be like, hey, you know, if there are younger people here, you know, try and respect that. Or if they're using other sorts of language that somebody might not appreciate. Mm-hmm. Always pull somebody off by themselves to engage with them and point out what's happening. Yeah. Don't try and make a big scene of it. That way they'll realize what's going on and everyone will be okay.
Yeah. I've had to institute in the past year, I've had to institute not just a no language, a no politics policy.
Oh.
I just can't, because you know what?
That's a good idea.
Even if, and I'm not going to like say what side's what. I'm just going to say, even if you think you are, or you know you're on the right side of good and justice, that doesn't mean that it's fine to talk about that side. Because you know what? There are, whatever side you're on, good people on the opposite opinion of the spectrum who are now going to feel ostracized, or just things are very tense right now. Yeah. And you maybe you decide that's something that's fine, and you know what? You're up for heated arguments. I've just found in my groups that is just there's 100 other places to talk politics, and there's 100 other places to get into these debates. Let's just enjoy some fun games here, and we'll talk about the presidents and the Secretary of States and what's going on in the country somewhere else. Let's just
somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, maybe we'll make a subreddit, you know, somewhere. Like, do that if you have to. I just find that it's way too hot right now to like just let that go casually, and people will hate each other because of their opinions on this stuff nowadays.
And always try and remind people to keep the message of whatever the game or group is. Try and focus on that, and that's what's bringing everyone together. Because everybody can have different politics. Mm-hmm. That's totally fine, but try and remember, you know, the focus is on Mario Kart or anime or whatever your group is doing.
Or you could totally lean into it. Maybe you want to make a Young Republicans Mario Kart group. Maybe you want to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
You could lean into it. Go the other way if you...
And you could totally make that.
Yeah, you could do that if you want. Just make sure you've addressed and thought about that issue of like, and then I guess you could say, oh, no liberal speak here. You know, like this is a conservative group gaming fest. I don't know, whatever you want. I don't know if you have any online groups, if you have a chat or a forum or a Facebook group. Pay attention for trolls. They're going to crop up everywhere.
And make sure, like I know with SwitchPass Boston, we do have some people who usually look for, you know, people who are trolling, making weird comments, or of course, the wonderful ads for sunglasses that get posted everywhere.
Oh, yes.
I think you guys who are really good at getting on those ads when I'm not watching the internet constantly and I see, oh, somebody deleted something, I wonder, and they're like, it was a sunglass ad. I was like, thanks, man. You guys are awesome.
Yeah. On the plus side, though, of the commercialism, if you get your group going, like Miz said, you can use that clout to eventually maybe reach out to groups that might want to either give you something, maybe give you the chance to demo a game and help promote something in advance. We even got, for our Pokemon League, we got... almost everyone in our league got free tickets to the Poke Orchestra.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And we went as a group, and it was like the highlight of the league because we had such a large group and we were really popular, and they were like, yeah, we're just looking to promote this thing. And we did. We were like, all right, post it on social media, tell everybody about this. And It was really fun.
And I know we've gotten a few advanced copy games from a couple different game groups. Thank you so much, Bandai Namco and Lightwood Games, for some of your games. They're amazing. I love them. I love Dragon Ball. So fun.
All right. Anything else before we dive into the community pulse and start talking to the people who have messaged us in our community?
I just want to make a shout out to Lance from New York. If you want to look at an interview with Ethan Miguel about the start of Street Pass, possibly SwitchPass Boston in the future, or Switch and Play, we'll see soon. I know he made a really nice video with an interview with him that you guys can check out on.
Awesome. I will put a link to that into the show notes. All right, let's dive into the community pulse. All right. So we'll take turns reading these back and forth, or pick whatever ones. We don't have to read them all. We'll just pick the ones that we like the most, though. First one from our very own Dr. Panda. Ooh, he should hang out with the Wolf Doctor.
He should.
What are tips for starting or finding a community alone?
Oh,
That's tricky. No, being by yourself and just having an idea in your head and you want to make it real, that can be a daunting task.
I was just thinking of a giant cliff, and how do you even start climbing it?
Ooh. I mean, I definitely think like
The first steps.
It kind of reminds me of the riddle. How many Cheerios can you put into an empty bowl? Only one. After that, the bowl's not empty. Ah,
KC is a smart man.
I am like a guru.
Yes.
You're only alone until you get your first member. Start just by seeing who else would be interested in talking to people. Hey, is this a cool idea? Would you want to be in my Young Liberals video game group or something like that?
Yes. Do you want to join my Crazy Cat Lady Society?
Yeah, right. And then when you find someone who's interested, you've got the ball rolling a little bit, that's someone to share ideas with. And if they get passionate about the idea with you, maybe you could just say, hey, I'm going to put up this, post. I'm going to make this community. Could you just join it on Facebook so it looks like there's at least more than one person in it? And maybe, ask around about who else might be interested in our Crazy Cat Lady gaming group.
Or if you're, let's say you're in middle school or high school, you can probably make flyers at your school. And a lot of times schools have a support system where they'll actually give you funding to help start your group. So if you can get a couple other people, like, Casey said, to join your cause, then you could put up flyers to see who else wants to join, know.
And you know what? Don't be afraid to make a few, here's one of the things. Like when I started a new group and it was just me in it, which looks kind of sad, I would just say like, hey, JV, right? You live in Texas. You're not actually going to come to this, but can you join the group and at least click that you're interested in this event so that it looks like there's at least some momentum to it? Because most people don't want to be the first one to say, I'm going to this event, even though there's only going to be me and one other person.
Is JV going to go to one of your events?
Someday he might come for Comic-Con one year. Or I want to see if I can get him here for PAX Unplugged.
Super
He would
fun.
come to that, I think. And he likes spending money on airplane tickets, so... But yeah...
You're being summoned, JV. Did you hear that?
Anyway, just don't get your hopes too high. Just start with a small goal. Maybe be happy with a group of 3 or 4 people who are willing to be like, all right, Friday night is, Snipper Clips night. Whatever it is, just set your goals slow. Honestly, when I started out with I played this one fighting game group, it was literally just the same 4 people, me and 3 others, every week for months. And we were happy with that for a very long time.
And I think, just like you were saying, make a Facebook group or maybe make a post on a message board like even Reddit or something like that to try and find a whole bunch of people who might be interested, or put up a flyer at your local game store or comic book store,
and
even grocery store.
And
who
you know
knows?
what?
Anywhere.
Maybe it's not meant to be. You can look on Board Game Geek, and if you look at my account, I have made
It's a great
posts
website.
on Board Game Geek for many groups I wanted to start that never got a single person interested. Or, worse yet, I wanted to do a Warhammer group, and I had about 4 or 5 people who said they were coming, and I went, and I was all ready, and nobody showed.
Nobody showed up for Warhammer. People love that game.
Was...
I've seen people spend billions of dollars, paint millions of figures. I've seen people's Warhammer collections. They're huge.
Well, this was the poor man's Warhammer. It was this one called Warhammer Disc Wars. It was like a cheap way to get into it. It was similar gameplay, but it was like a $50 investment rather than a $500 investment game. And I had everything everyone needed to play. They just needed to show up and play with the pieces.
You just need to show up.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Oh, that's one of the things I got to say also, though, is if you're starting a group, something that people don't have to have invested in is great. I think what works with the Switch group is we have people who can come and play even if they don't own a Switch. They can play a multiplayer game and just kind of join in as player 2 on there.
Because there are 2 controllers already, right. Which is awesome.
And a lot of the I don't play CCGs. I don't play groups where people have to have invested $100 of cards to play. I have groups that I own all the cards that everyone who shows up can use, right? Like I have 10 decks of this one game that anyone could pick up and play with. Nobody else has to actually buy anything, but eventually they do.
And that's right. Like when I used to play Spellfire and Magic, a lot of us had multiple decks. So that way, when you show up to something, if there's somebody new who shows up, you can be like, hey, I have an extra deck. Do you want to play too? Or do you want to try this thing? Mm-hmm. And you just hand them a deck.
Yeah.
Or like for D&D, hand them a character sheet and a set of dice.
Yeah, letting people know they don't need to have anything to join is probably really important. Because everyone's going to think in their head, oh, well, I'd like to join this group, but I don't own 20-sided dice. I can't join. Let them know. No experience, nothing.
Just tell them they just need to show up.
Yeah.
All you need to bring is yourself.
Yes.
We have from Logan Keller. Keep it clean. Most Nintendo fans started with a family-friendly system in the 80s and have kids now. It's fine to have a dark corner, too.
SwitchCast After Dark.
This reminds me of one of my favorite games. Is it for the Wii? Have you played House of the Dead Overkill?
I've played Typing of the Dead.
And I've seen Typing of the Dead. I've not played it, but I've seen it. Like, literally seen it sitting over there, like, at, I think, PAX or something. Oh.
I've played regular House of the Dead as well.
House of the Dead, Overkill. For those, have you seen the movie Grindhouse?
Yes.
So, take the Robert Rodriguez section and turn that into House of the Dead. That's what it is.
Okay.
It's awesome.
Okay. How does that relate to what he just said?
It said it's fine to have a dark corner, too. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't sure where he was going with this. He said family friendly and then dark corner.
Well, no. This is actually interesting. We had something for a little while. That's actually where after some of our Pokemon leagues, right? And our Pokemon leagues, we have all ages. Like some people bring their kids literally with them and like the 10-year-olds go and talk business while the parents are playing Pokemon. But afterwards, after the official Pokemon League is over and the kids go away, we would say, all right, Pokemon League's over. If anyone wants to just hang out and still play, we're going to head over to McSorley's or some bar in the area, and we would hang out there, and then you can get a little more rowdy and just have kind of an after event that might be let your hair down a little more. Maybe, something for the people who are looking for a little more rowdy fun.
Now I want to see Casey let his hair down. The cap.
I have my hair cut.
I know, but your cap has to come off, and then somehow, like a voluminous amount of hair has to explode from underneath.
I'm like Professor Layton. I only take my hat off for like dramatic scenes of characters dying. All right, so Jeremy Alessi said his tip was, we just started the SwapFire Pros group on Facebook and are actively working to grow the game's tournament community. Right now it's pockets of Miiverse, YouTube, Nintendo Life, etc. Unifying all that is a huge challenge. So it sounds like what he's doing is he's going to other gaming communities and have been trying to rally together interested parties from all of them for whatever the SwapFire Pros group is. I guess that's a...
SwapFire sounds so familiar, and it's driving me crazy, so I'm looking it up right now. SwapFire is a shooter with a literal twist. Shooting other players rips a hole in space-time, thus swapping your locations. Oh, this sounds really fun. You have to commit to losing in order to win in a drop zone. This is a Wii U exclusive shooter. Crazy fun couch multiplayer for up to 5 friends? Whoa.
Wow, sounds like Jeremy got you into his community right now.
Who posted this, Jeremy? I'm no longer speaking to you because now I want to get this game and... Oh, no, this is terrible.
It sounds like reaching out to lots of different groups like those. And now keep in mind, some groups are more open to people coming in and poaching people for their own things than others. Like, for example, I'm fine with people who are part of our community, who are looking to start something and maybe want to rally some of our members to go there. Yeah. But if you came to my site, I'll just say this way. If you came to my site and you just were trying to recruit people for like flat out just, hey, come over to my chat and my blog and, forget about this SwitchCast thing, I might ban you, So you got to be respectful to the sites that you go, like obviously a place like Miiverse or YouTube, you don't really have to worry about, but Nintendo Life, they have their own little community. So you have to be a little careful and respectful if you're kind of entering someone else's community in order to promote your own. So just, like I just appreciate if someone just messaged me, hey, I want to drop a link to this event I'm doing. Is that cool? And go right ahead.
I know occasionally when I was advertising certain things, I might send a message to the admin of a page like, hey, is it okay if I post this thing about this event here? It's always very respectful, ask. Especially, and only post in something that you think seems relevant to your group.
Yeah.
We have Victor Gonzalez. Years ago, when Team Fortress 2 was all the rage, our community had weekly gaming nights. That makes sense. I'm surprised it wasn't nightly. Yes. Where we'd fill up our server, play for hours, had rankings, etc. Keeping things friendly, but also competitive is, in my opinion, a great way to keep a community going. Victor, I completely agree with your statement. Yes, and yes, and yes.
I'm filling out the end of that story, right? He says, years ago, it was all the rage. He had the weekly nights. Eventually, things started fading, and you kind of have to face the music sooner or later. Do I just keep this going with this diminished number, or do you try to roll that group into something new?
You try to switch it up.
Switch it up. Literally, that's what happened with my last podcast community, which was like 5 dedicated listeners, maybe. It was a very small group, but I was like, all right, do I just keep this going? Or do I try to roll this group into our next endeavor? And that's what we did with the SwitchCast. And a lot of people came along. We had to say goodbye. Some people weren't interested and they didn't care anymore. But you do have to identify when things are kind of winding down and then kind of pick the right time that if you want to keep a group going, what is the next stage? What are you going to kind of convert them into, if anything? Or are you just going to call it quits eventually?
And what I like about his statement here is about keeping it friendly but also competitive. And I know, I'm not sure, I haven't been able to go to any of New York's Switch and Play events recently, but I know up in Boston, at some point in time, every time we meet up, Mario Kart 7 is always brought out, without a doubt, every single time. And it's always a thing. It's like, who opened Mario Kart? What's going on? Yeah. And then everybody drops whatever they're doing. They stop crossing their animals. They stop playing, Dragon Ball. Everything just stops and everyone's like, wait, is there still space in that room? No. Oh God, is there still space? And, it's always a competition, but it's fun.
Yeah. On the same line, David Sadai wrote in, open communication and a family attitude, kick out people that harass others. For a gaming community, try to have a regular schedule where you can play together is huge. Discord is also essential these days with text chat and voice chat channels. I'll say this, kicking out people who harass others, because you have to kind of set that precedent early on. If you are going to, maybe you want a group that's really hardcore and wants to harass each other. You can do that, sure. Obviously, I don't.
Is it melee hell?
But, yeah. But I had to make sure that was established early on, that people got from the way I presented myself, because people are going to look to the leader for the cues of this.
That's true.
And if Yeah, if you're gonna start making fun of people for losing, other people will get the idea that that's the character. You're gonna be the soul of the group, and people will identify that. So be very conscious of that, and act the way you want them to act.
Be a model for what you want others to take upon themselves and how you'd like people to act.
All right, let me see how much we're doing on time here. Maybe we'll do one more before we roll things up here. So why don't you pick one last one?
I don't know. Well, I'm going to go with, I feel embarrassed because I don't know how to say Mike's last name, even though I know Mike. Michael Rivera. Being a YouTuber on Mike's Monster Gaming, I've always found that being kind and respectful to everyone and being as open and welcoming as possible with everyone makes a community that much stronger. If you make people feel welcome, and other people see that, more will come. Kindness is something that should be contagious, and everyone in the community should help each other. That's the biggest thing I'd say, coming from my YouTube channel, as well as Switch and Play New York as well.
Yeah, it kind of goes along with what we were saying, yeah, that your attitude will spill on to the others.
Yep.
Kindness. I actually like what Benjamin here says. I just realized I wanted to read this. Benjamin Lavelle, I'm going to say, I'm a hardcore gamer that plays online casually. I love it. I think it's fun, but it can be toxic. I refuse to play Overwatch because it is the worst community I've ever been a part of. I play games to have fun, and I hate it when I play with other people that just harass someone because they're not getting high scores, etc. I'm fine with being competitive as long as it's kept in good nature. The moment someone turns fun to work, I tone out and don't want to play. Keep the community focused on fun. Family-friendly fun. I can totally relate. I haven't played a lot of competitive communities. I was part of the Vainglory, a MOBA community on iPhone. And most of the time it's really cool, but sometimes you get just really jerky people who take it seriously and they're offended when you're not playing on the level that they expect you to play on. And that could be a tough thing. In fact, that's one of the reasons I want to specifically make a fighting group that doesn't have that, because I don't want to deal with that sort of stuff. And I feel like I need to make a home for people to play certain types of games without that kind of toxicity. And you know what? Honestly, maybe he would be well served if someone made specifically an Overwatch community that was strictly made so that people can play other not offensive, toxic people.
Yeah. If you can make a community like that, I would be very impressed, because I try and be as friendly as possible with everyone when I'm playing any sort of game like Overwatch or Smite or anything like that online, but I see some very hateful, mean things said to other players. And I've had some friends of mine stop playing and just quit for the rest of the day or even a week or a month because they're like, I just couldn't take what that person was saying. And they're just like, they're done. And then I can't get them to come back to play, even if they're playing with just guildmates or anything like that. And it's so stressful to see, because the games are really just about having fun.
I mean, so yeah, that can go in either way. You can say, this game has toxic community, I need to stay away from it. Or, this game has a toxic community, it needs someone to make a community around it so we can play with other like-minded, not jerk people. And finally, Colefoot said, a buddy and I started up a board game group. The thing that helped us grow the most was consistency. We were at the same place, same time, same night, every week. Now we are able to switch it up from different locations and communicate it all through our Facebook page.
Now we know whether or not we are there, someone will be able to take the torch and still have fun. It took us a solid year and a half to get a good group. Now we average about 6, with as many as 20 or more on any given night.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. It does take a few years sometimes, you know.
It can.
Honestly, I had, many of my groups, like I said, were just 2 or 3 people, and then someday it explodes and a couple people show up and you just get lucky. And I definitely say consistency and staying. I mean, the only reason my podcast, I think, is doing all right is because we're up every week and people just know to download us.
And why do you guys think Friday Night Magic is Friday Night Magic? Because it's every Friday and it's magic. It's consistent.
And it's at night.
And it's at night.
And yeah, and everything you need to know is in the name of the event.
Friday Night Magic. It's at so many places. You could walk into many game stores. Bam. Magic. Friday night.
Awesome. Okay, that is our show, Miz. This was a magical experience. Are you a magical girl?
Am I a magical girl? I do have a lovely costume that my mother made me a very long time ago for Sailor Mars, who is a magical girl. I do like it. It's very cute.
Mars was probably the best one.
She does use fire. I am a huge fan of fire.
And where can people find more of Miz and listen to you and hear more of what you have to say about things?
If you are foolish enough and you would like to listen to more of what I want to say, I have a podcast. That's usually weekly, but we are on hiatus right now because my partner in crime, the Wolf Doctor, is in real life Alola, aka Hawaii, eating malasadas. Ooh. She sent me pictures of these. Cruel creature.
Aww.
At pokeproblemspodcast.blogspot.com. You can find us on Twitter at PokemonCast and listen to us there. You can also find StreetPass Boston in case you're in the Boston, Massachusetts area and want to play games with us by looking up StreetPass Boston on the internet. We've also got a Twitter account. My personal Twitter, in case you feel like stalking me down, is spelled very poorly. I apologize. It's just Miz Sylver, MZ, V's in Victor, ER. And I think that might be everything. I don't know.
Awesome. If you forget something, I'll add it to the show notes. Just let me know. And as for us, we're super thankful that you came on, Miz. It was really fun.
Well, thank you for having me.
And all our listeners, just a kind reminder, if you like this show and want to hear more stuff like it and help us do better, we have a Patreon where you can support the SwitchCast. Just go to patreon.com/theswitchcast. You can pledge as little as $1 a month to help us pay for our servers and everything else that we need to keep this show going and make it better. And you can throw us even more if you want.
Or you can pledge $1 billion.
You can, technically, yes. If your check clears, then all right. Almost worth $1 billion to us is giving us a review on iTunes. Just go to your podcast app or Google Play or wherever you listen to this and leave us a good 5-star review because that helps more people see us, throws us up in the rankings, and makes sure more people hear the show. And honestly, that's all I want. I want 1 billion people listening to the show. 1 billion
people. Yay!
By tomorrow. We also, as we mentioned, we have the SwitchCast Twitter at the SwitchCast and the Facebook group for lots of social fun and updates all the time. I think that's pretty much all I need to mention this time. So, until next time,
switch it up.